I've seen the reviews, I've seen the comments. And after actually shooting with the Cinema Line FX5 from Sony, some of the internet's already getting this wrong. Allow me to correct it. Specs will tell you what a camera could do, but shooting tells you how a camera behaves. Workflow's not gonna be able to be understood from a press release. There's some things that matter more over the course of a day than over an hour. And experience with a thing will help you understand the priorities and the reason why it actually exists. This is not an FX3 Mark II with a different name. This thing feels different. When I say it feels different, I literally mean the feel in your hand is different. Where it is cooling is different, and how good it feels to see that internal RAW is impressive. The shooting experience is fundamentally different because the FX3 is not what the FX5 is trying to be and succeeds in being. Open gate changes how you think about how you shoot. Knowing you have internal RAW changes how you shoot. The battery isn't even the same. This is not just, hey, we upgraded the FX3, but we don't want to keep selling. We don't want to stop selling the FX3. It's one of our best sellers. No, this is a bit, bro, take a look. Okay. Look down there. Have you seen that on an FX3 or an FX2 or an FX30? Like, you can literally go into the menu and you can adjust where you want the mic to be. Go ahead and turn that mic to something different. Right? So let's go with that one, and we'll go this mic. Perfect. Look at that. I can change without the top handle. 4-channel recorder. It's not an FX6 replacement. No. If anything, it's the baby brother to the FX6, and that's actually where they slotted it, right between the FX3 and the FX6. But the lack of internal NDs should tell you immediately that it's not the same kind of thing. SDI still matters. Internal NDs have a place, and the FX6 earns its place on larger productions. The FX5 solves problems differently than the FX6. I can do documentary with this differently than I would think of doing documentary with the FX6. They complement each other far more than they compete. Nobody needs RAW, nobody needs RAW. Nobody needs RAW until they need it. Just like everyone is better than Jalen Brunson until it's time to be better than Jalen Brunson. Not everybody needs RAW. And the reason why not everyone needs RAW is because not everyone's doing things in post. Let's just say, for instance, you do more short form, like you work with a client that does short form. Hey, I'm gonna do 30 videos over the course of the next 3 months. Okay, that's 10 videos a month, but you're gonna shoot them all in like 3 days and you're gonna edit them. Are you really gonna do post work for that? Are they paying you for post work? I mean, you're still gonna do post work, obviously, right? Like you gotta cut the head, cut the tail, maybe get a little adjustment layer, whatever. But are you really gonna be shooting RAW? Because if you're really gonna be shooting RAW, then you should be getting paid for that. So no, not everybody needs it. But I've been walking around with this thing for forever. Love this thing, it's amazing. I love them. I swear by Adamus products. But if there's a day that I don't wanna walk around with this and all I wanna do is what you're seeing me do right now. I shoot RAW, I shoot Cinetone, I shoot pictures. Bam, I'm done. In one shot, in one car ride, without me needing to take that with me, with all of the things that I need to have inside of it. Fewer batteries, fewer cables, fewer failure points. The benefit of RAW is as much about image quality as it is about workflow. 16.6 megapixels isn't enough. You didn't say that about the FX6, sorry, the FX3. The idea that 16 megapixels for a cine camera is not enough is insane, especially when we talk about that tri-base ISO. You're bugging. This thing doesn't feel limited in any way. In post, it still looks incredible. Autofocus feels more responsive. That stacked sensor, because that's the thing y'all forget. 16.6 megapixels stacked sensor. Rolling shutter, oh gosh, noticeably improved. The sensor feels what it's supposed to feel like. Fast. We're prioritizing speed over resolution. That's what Sony was looking for. No, this doesn't shoot 8K. I don't need it to. Because some of my favorite cine cams, like the Aries and the Venices and the Muranos, they don't shoot 8, 12, and 16K, but we get to get incredible quality out of them. Fast readouts, 120 frames per second in 4K. You shut up. It's overpriced. No, it's outside your budget. Listen, price is specific to, oh God, price is specific to whatever the thing is that is being priced. This is actually very dangerous. I shouldn't do this. This thing, as I stated before, in terms of workflow, it sits right between, oh, it's fine. It sits right between the FX3 and the FX6 in terms of price. But not just in terms of price, in terms of the actual legitimate workflow. Like, this saves me time. Saving time has a value. Simplifying your workflow has a value. Like, do you understand that I forgot to bring stuff with this? I mean, I've got a bunch of cables and stuff here, but what if I told you I don't need to slot this in here? I don't need to, it's okay. I'm good. My CF Express A will do all the work that it needs to. It's fine. You're not the right buyer if the price is the issue. The right buyer will see the value. Hi, I'm the right buyer. I see the value. You have to understand that the features that I cared most about, like the 5K 60, the 120 4K, the 240, the stacked sensor, the fast readout, all of those were things. First of all, the RAW was the #1 thing for me. But all those things, they're great. But it's the simple things, the little things, like this. That's the underestimated part of the workflow that changes everything for how I approach client shoots. This is insane if you understand it, if you understand what this can do for you. I have, with 2 or 3 batteries, or maybe I'll just put the V mount on it, my entire production setup right here, including RAW workflows. The same RAW workflows that y'all were excited about in movies that the Venice shot. Do you see what I'm saying? The usability of this thing is incredible. And it made me, first of all, give up the R5C. I loved the R5C for forever. It was my favorite camera, but this is now my favorite camera. It's those little things. The things that no one talks about, the things that no one's excited about, the things that your YouTuber friends aren't glossing, or excuse me, are glossing over and aren't glazing. Those are the things that make this camera, first of all, my favorite camera, and second of all, reliable as all heck. I can promise you that this thing is going to last and stand the test of time like the FX3. This is the same FX3 we got the day it came out. And this has been on every production that we've been on. It had the big brother show up just a few months later. And then we had the 3 camera shoots where we still had the A7 R3, and then that swapped out for this joint right here. And now we've got 4 camera shoots with cine cams, and now I'm able to say this one will replace the FX30 on a good number of sets. Again, the FX30 has a place. Shoot, I'll be honest with you, and the person that's shooting this is gonna hate me for saying this, but this might replace the FX3 on most sets. Currently, the camera that makes us the most money is the FX3. It's second to none, but this one comes in second. This one might be the one that goes on every shoot going forward. I don't know, haven't finished playing with it yet. But with what I've done so far, as the one who buys the cameras for the studio, this thing is worth it. And not for the reasons that all your YouTuber glazer friends are all talking about. Spec sheet convinced me to pick this thing up. It's a stat sheet stuffer that destroys even the R5C when it comes to stuff in the stat sheet. But actually shooting with it is what changed my perspective. It's kind of like what I said to my wife, your beauty attracted me, but who you are captured me. I'm the chef boy. And this one, attracted and captured.